Hello, welcome once again, and I do hope you've had a lovely Christmas. And I think Christmas is a wonderful time of the year, and I hope you've thoroughly enjoyed it and spread peace and goodwill and some lovely presents. And I hope you've had some lovely presents too. I know I have. But we forget about Christmas. Do you know something? I've watched 15 films in the last month because, you know, my daughter records them for me and I look at them. And there were 15 films about Christmas, and it was only in one that the child Jesus and the true spirit of Christmas was mentioned. Everything else was Father Christmas and Mother Christmas, and you've no idea the different versions of it. But I expect you've found the same thing. But Christmas is a wonderful time of the year, and it's, you know, and I think if people go into it with the spirit that it's intended of love and goodwill, then it's something which should be fostered and spread, and I hope it gets more and more. What we hope doesn't happen is that it changes completely over to Santa Claus, and I like Santa Claus, but you've got to remember that it is a time of happiness, goodwill and love, which I'm sure you do. Now, I've got a wonderful team at this television headed by Paul, and they're now trying to produce for me, I think this, I don't know whether it's my 39th or 40th episode, 41 I'm told, and so I've got to really try and edit it and find out what I haven't told you. I hope some of you may be interested, but I've got a huge family. You probably remember that we lost our first child, and in those days after the war there were children's homes with 400, 500 children in them. They were shipping children off to Australia and America and Canada. And as soon as a family, if there was 2 or 3 children, as soon as one of them reached the age of 5, they were separated from the other brothers and sisters and sent all over the world, or separated, never saw their family again. And it was a horrendous thing. It was very sad. And because of that, my wife, who was a saint, we were married for 65 years, which isn't bad, but she was a saint, and we lost our first child. We had 9 children altogether. Excuse me. We lost our first one, and she thought, well, it'd be nice to replace it with one of these unwanted children. And we went, and I think I may have told you this story before, and we were told, well, everybody wants a little baby girl, because we thought it'd be nice to have a little baby girl. And they said, everybody wants baby boys. So we said, all right, we'll have a baby boy. And they said, well, everybody wants baby boys, but nobody wants the older boys. So we had a 7-year-old, and I'm pleased to say he's now in Australia. He's retired, he's over retirement age. He's had a wonderful life. He's got children and grandchildren, and so it just shows you, and we're still Mummy and Danny. He came all the way over from Australia a month ago to see me. So it just shows you what love and goodwill can do. I'm very grateful that we had this large family. We ended up with 33, so we didn't do badly. But coming back to the story, I thought it might be a good idea just to say something about this last year, because time goes by so quickly. I'm into my 92nd year in January, and I don't feel it, but I know I look it and I act it sometimes, but it's nice to have all this memory. Because of my huge family, I'm doing this life story so that they've got it down and it's there for them if they want to find out about it. But coming back to this year, you may remember, I have told you about it, Felixstowe Radio was founded goodly number of years ago by Trevor Lockwood, a wonderful man, and he started it in his front room, and I think every credit ought to be given to him for all the work he's done, and he did do an amazing job. But unfortunately, like all things, it spread. And of course, Felixstowe Radio has got an Ofcom licence, which means it can broadcast officially. And if you go into the charity shops, you can hear it coming over. But the trouble was, there were a lot of groups within the Felixstowe Radio who were at war with each other, or one another, to be grammatically correct. And it was falling to pieces. When I came to Felixstowe in the first place, I was amazed to find that there was a television station here, Felixstowe Television, because I had started a little television station in Norfolk, and it was the only one in the country except for one I think up in Scotland somewhere. And so when I came to Felixstowe, my daughter found this lovely house and she said, oh, that would just suit you down to the ground on the seafront. We came, my wife loved it, and we came here. But there was a television station. So I gave it they were having it run by two lovely young men, and I gave them a little grant they were having a bit of financial troubles, but nevertheless they still closed it down. And I thought, what a shame. So I bought it from them, and that's when we established Felixstowe Television. Because I was involved with Felixstowe Television, which we did in our garages here, excuse me, we got interested in Felixstowe Radio. And as I was just saying, Felixstowe Radio had got itself into a lot of problems, and they came to me and said, could I try and rescue it? So, but it was personalities, like all things. There were different groups. They all had their own little groups, and they were at war with one another. And so I put my thinking cap on, I got them all together and we sorted them out, and I'm pleased to say Felixstowe Radio has gone from strength to strength, and it's still going strong today. Now at that time Trevor Lockwood had started it in his front room. He started it with Anne and one or two others, and of course it grew, and they managed to get a grant from the government, which was a good thing. And this is when the problems started, because they were able to hire a full-time manager and go into premises on the co-op precinct. You probably remember it, went up there. And it went from strength to strength. It was very good, except for the conflict. But fortunately, human nature being what it is, we were able to sort out the conflict, and the radio went from strength to strength. It was a lovely thing, and people were enjoying it and doing it. But then, unfortunately, they got into financial problems, and they were owing £17,000 in back rent to the co-op. This was when I was called in. And I'm pleased to say we've just now recently agreed with the co-op that we're going to compensate them for that rent by advertising, so that should be good. But we were going full blast, and it was a good thing. But then, of course, the lease came to an end. I can't remember whether it was a 5-year lease or what it was, but it came to an end. So I thought, what on earth are we going to do? In the meantime, we'd bought some premises in Gainsborough Road for the television, and the television studio was going full blast, which is good. And but then, of course, unfortunately, I couldn't put the radio. I thought, well, I put the radio down with the television, but it didn't work out that way. I thought it was going to cause a lot of problems, and there wasn't enough space really. And the lease came to an end, and I was really in a quandary. But then the old Coes building, you may remember Coes at the bottom end of Hamilton Road, it was empty, and somebody drew my attention to it, and I thought, well, that would be ideal. But the trouble was the lease was finishing in the April, and this was in the January, I think it was. So I thought, well, there's nothing I can do, but I went to the solicitor. I said, I want that place. And it just shows you what can be done. We had it bought and paid for and done within a week, which isn't bad for a property. But of course there was problems because the place was been empty for a long time, and over a year I think, and the fire escape was wooden, and it was derelict and all broken, and there were so many things wrong with the place. But fortunately we've got Hoseley Prison here down the road, and I thought, well, wouldn't it be a good thing to help the prisoners? And I found that they have got a wonderful scheme that the prisoners, the prison authorities will let the prisoners who are just due to go home come and work for you if it's a good cause, and it's good for the prisoners, and it's obviously good for us. So I had, I can't remember, 3 or 4 or half a dozen prisoners, and we got to work on those premises, and we got them sorted. Built a new fire escape down the back. We down in the basement we cleared it all out and put studios and what's it. And I've got a very enterprising electrician, and he very kindly rewired everything. It was a major operation, but we got it done, and moved the radio from the co-op precinct down into the place, and of course we had television studios down there as well, so that meant that I moved the television from Gainsborough Road, and I let out the Gainsborough Road property to a DOC premises who've still got it to this day, fortunately, and the income from that helps to finance the premises down at Cowes. But of course my problem is that I'm now 92. I'm into my 92nd year next month. I'm sorry, I'm exaggerating as usual. And so I've got to settle things. So what I've decided to do is that we've got to find a new home for the radio, and the television can come back to Brook Lane. And we've put up, you may have seen, if you go down Hamilton Road, on the corner, you'll see the premises there, number 2 Hamilton Road, and you'll see there's a board up outside, to let or for sale. So the next chapter is starting soon. Well, it's not bad at 91, on the 13th of next month. But I think Felixstowe is a wonderful place. I think you're very lucky. We're all very lucky to live in Felixstowe. I'm just looking out of the window now. I can see the sea. It's misty, and the weather here is much better than anywhere else. I think I've told you the story before. The Empress of Germany in Victorian days, she sent her ambassador to every town on the south coast and the east coast to find the best place for her to go to convalesce. And where do you think she picked, or where the ambassador picked? He picked Felixstowe. He said it's got better climate, better weather, and better everything than any other town in England. So that's where I'm going to end, on that note, that Felixstowe is the best. Thanks for listening, and look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care, and God bless you.